Boston native, Brooklyn born like myself. I was born in Brooklyn, whoop whoop. New York in the house. Um, Boston native too. So, got the Boston, that New York, Boston, Northern accent. Who is a sex educator and coach. She has a passion for erotica and pleasure activism. Her love for words and sexual enlightenment led to her self-publishing Soul Touching and Soul Sinking. Both poetry collections discuss intimacy, sexual desire, and love. She finds enjoyment in assisting others with attaining their vision for sexual success through comprehensive sex education and a blend of talk-based and experiment sex coaching. Love this, love this, love this. Um, Urban Magazine also featured writing by this sex enthusiast in March 2019 for Women's Month, and again in their June 2019 spread. She holds her master's in education, curriculum, and instructional leadership. She serves as a secondary science educator, instructional coach, and curriculum developer. She leverages her strengths as an educator to create sensual learning experiences, share sexology content in a down-to-earth and bite-sized way, which we all need, and facilitate group coaching programs like the Queendom for women. Her mission is to create safe spaces for sexuality discussions and to close the pleasure gap, which is why I have her. So join me in welcoming Seshata Rose. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yes, hello, reigning woman. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you are well. I miss you. I miss you on here. Hello, Brenda. I haven't seen you in a while either. I got some people coming who haven't seen in a long time. Oh, I'm so excited. So yes. So yes. Hi, reigning woman. Hi. She says hi. Miss you too. So yeah, so this is why I have this. So same thing like you, I really want to have these conversations around sexuality, release the stigma, release the taboos around it. And, we deserve to have pleasure. So we're going to be talking about how physical health impacts your sexual health. And we both, we were just talking just before this live, talking about our physical health stuff more recently. So we got some personal stories to share. I just did a little TikTok and reel of me getting some Thai, which is like a Japanese chiropractic treatment, because I've been going through some physical health stuff recently. And so, it's definitely, and I see how that's affected me. But let's go ahead and I've introduced you, Seshata. Thank you for being here. And yeah, tell me, how did you get into this work? How did you start working with sexuality and doing the coaching?
Yeah. So I've always had an interest in sexuality, like since I was young. I'm pretty sure I was thinking about, writing about, reading about sex way before I was actually involved in the act myself. And so I initially started as an erotic writer, like you shared. So I was just expressing myself, writing poetry and prose and sharing short stories about erotica. And then eventually I got to a space where I wanted to blend what I feel like my natural skills are and what I was doing in the professional space. So I'm a science educator with what my passion is. So trying to blend my skill with where my heart and soul lives and what sets my, my soul on fire. So I decided to kind of switch into sex education and coaching. I'm also an instructional coach right now. So in both spaces, in both my creative life and my professional life, I'm doing coaching. And it just felt like a really good fit. I just thought about my upbringing and the lack of sex positive information that I had growing up, as well as the sex education I had access to that I think should be very embarrassed for calling itself that, because it really wasn't that. And so I just kind of wanted to create a space. And I noticed that a large part of why we don't experience pleasure is that we weren't properly educated about our bodies and we weren't giving safe spaces to have these conversations. So I try to create those spaces and build a community in that way.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And such a need, such a need. I say this every time on every live. We just didn't receive the education, we never received it. And so there's just so much we don't know. And so it's so important to have these, to create these safe spaces for people to be able to come on and to talk and ask questions, you know, and even just being able to have this as a point of reference to return back to later, you know. So this is so important. So if anybody's seen my post today that I just posted, and I literally went today and then I was like, oh my God, this goes in hand with what we're going to be talking about today. So I was like, let me post a little video, do a little TikTok video. I didn't really do much with it. I just put it on, put some music to it. But the last few weeks I had been experiencing some like tingling in my arms and in my feet and in my, you know, my hands and my legs, and my arms have been going dormant. And I just had a pain in my right arm. I had pulled a muscle a while back, like maybe even like 9 months ago, being a big kid, going to the trampoline, a big jump. And I pulled it. And I thought it healed, but you know, every once in a while it would just kind of flare up. And most recently I started doing pole dancing. Ooh. And so because the pole dancing, and I love, but because of the pole dancing, there's a lot of, you know, pulling yourself up on a pole. So I re-injured this arm. And so I had to go, like, I was like, okay, I gotta go to the doctor, and I'm not stopping the pole dancing, because, you know, one of my goals for this year is to get into better shape. Now, when we talk about physical health, getting in better shape, it doesn't mean you have to be like a +2 or size zero. I mean, you know, size 2 or size 0, anything like that. It's just about taking care of yourself and your physical health. You know, whatever size you are, you know, eating right, exercising, you know, increasing your cardiovascular. And so for me, like, I noticed these last few weeks, because I had been feeling all of these things, my sex drive went down. Like I had no sex drive, you know. Not to say I haven't been doing anything, because I'm like, oh yeah, I still have. But like, I just really haven't had it. It hasn't been as high as it normally is, right? And so it's interesting, and it just gave me some time to think about how that physical health really affects our sexual health. It affects, you know, in so many ways, and I could keep going and going and going. But let me let you talk a little bit too, because I'm sharing a lot. But I noticed for me, when my body was broken down and I was feeling this pain, I was feeling the numbing, I couldn't even think about my sexuality. I had to think about that. Like, I really thought, oh my God, you know, what's happening, and it was just, that took more precedence than anything. Think about there's a little bug flying here, like a little mosquito or something. So I couldn't even think about, you know, having sex, or I didn't feel beautiful. And just because I was having these things, I would go out and I wouldn't feel attractive. And so I noticed that made a difference, because a lot of that attraction has a lot to do with also how you feel. And so, you know, people weren't responding to me the way that they normally do. You know, I'm used to going out and everybody's like looking, and, you know, but it was like I wasn't right with myself. I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling healthy. And so that brought me down. My sexual energy came down, and I wasn't attracting like I normally do. And so that makes such a difference.
Yeah. There's just such a strong correlation between like poor physical health and sexual dysfunction. So when you're experiencing a challenge in your physical well-being, it directly impacts how you're able to show up fully sexually or be in a sensual space. And there's 4 areas of sexual dysfunction, and physical health can impact all of them. So when you're having any kind of physical ailment, it can impact your desire, like your libido, like you were saying, like your drive to even have sex, your attraction, like your attraction to others and how attractive you feel. So your self-concept And we already know the mind-body connection is real. So if you start in your mental feeling like you don't feel as attractive, you don't feel as good in your body, if that's how your mind is, your body follows suit, and your arousal or lack of arousal is going to follow suit, which is the next type of dysfunction. And then if you are physically not well, it's just harder to achieve orgasms, or your orgasms aren't as intense, or if you're experiencing any pain, that pain is going to be a distraction from you experiencing like the pleasure that you're used to experiencing. But yeah, I also had like a recent challenge with my physical health that blended into my sexual health as well. I actually had a Bartholin cyst. I don't know if anyone's familiar with
Bartholin?
Yeah, with Bartholin.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know someone else who has that.
Terrible.
Oh,
so terrible. Like I was miserable. Like, and if you
she had painful sex. It was it would hurt. She couldn't have it.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like, so if anyone doesn't know what the Bartholin cyst is, it's an infection of the Bartholin gland. And the Bartholin gland, you have two of them. They're at the lower part of your inner labia, so kind of really close to the vaginal opening. Their job is like, producing the secretions into the vagina. It's what supports your vagina being wet, specifically near the opening. And what can happen is sometimes sweat, skin, hair, bacteria, like it could be an STI. There's so many things that could be the reason, but any blockage of that duct that's supposed to let the lubrication into the vagina, if there's any blockage, it can store the fluid and become infected from storing it instead of releasing it like it's supposed to. So when you have that issue, it swells really bad. It causes like painful sex. For me, I experienced like numbness in my vagina, like numbness. Like I felt like I just wasn't feeling right. It can swell to the point where underwear is uncomfortable, sitting is uncomfortable. It's very miserable. And a couple things that you can do about it. You can try like hot compress, warm baths, and it'll calm the swelling, but it can just it'll just keep coming back.
Right.
And so you also have the option to like get a tube injected into it and wait for it to drain naturally. That can take 6 weeks. And you'll have you will have to be uncomfortable wearing this tube. So I'm giving you from least invasive to most invasive. So least invasive is just soaking hot compress, put this tube in, like incision, leave the tube, wait for it to drain. Most invasive is to just do a surgery and just have them go ahead and drain it. And sometimes they remove the gland altogether. So I actually had 2 weeks ago, had the procedure done to get mine drained. And I had actually had my post-operation appointment this afternoon, and everything's going well. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have a doctor and a GYN who's a Black male that I love. He's Haitian. The whole team is Black. Everybody's Black. My therapist is Black. GYN, everybody's Black. But caring enough because some doctors will just remove the gland and just go about their business. He was like, I'm not your healthy young woman. I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to, because removing it could mean potentially taking away a tool that my body needs to produce lubrication. And these are, really high concerns for me. So
because it's interesting, in a lot of my workshops with women, I teach them to massage the Bartholin gland, just to stimulate it, to kind of help with stimulating the gland so they could, as well as I teach like Kegels, intimate gymnastics, yoni yoga, really for a good, nice like yoni health. But I wonder if, because it's an infection, right? So it's like, how can you prevent that from happening? I don't know if you've learned all of this journey.
Yeah, I would say there's no like guaranteed preventative thing, but in general, it's just general like hygiene type of stuff. So for example, maybe that post-workout sex might not be the best option because sweat from your partner is one of those things that can clog that duct, cause the infection and cause the swelling. So, I mean, it's normal hygiene stuff, but it also could just be your body not being familiar to your partner's natural bacteria and flora. Our yonis are super, super sensitive and super reactive to different things. And a lot of women, when you have a new sexual partner, even if you use protection, a lot of times you get a yeast infection after that encounter, just because your body's like, who's this foreign bacteria? Who is this person? What's going on? And depending on your male partner, some men have thrush, some men have fungus on their penis. Like, it's just part of their body's natural flora. So even if they're clean, if this is foreign to your body, it can cause your body to like react in this way. And of course, the other part of it is like STI prevention and like staying up with that. So, I mean, outside of like cleanliness, keeping up with screenings and keeping up with that, there isn't like a whole lot you can do necessarily.
Yeah.
Some women never experience it ever. And then, you know, some women just do, and taking it out or draining it is kind of like the only like lasting solution to it.
Yeah. Wow. So ladies that's coming in, ladies, men, whoever's coming on, say hello. This is some great stuff already. I mean, I've only been within a few minutes and it's some good information. So give a like if you're enjoying this. If you're learning something, share this with someone, because you can help some women. Like you can help someone possibly prevent getting Bartholin's cyst, you know, and it sounds pretty bad. And just from when I've seen my friend, you know, what she had to go through, I don't wish that on anyone, you know, I don't wish that on anyone. And so, and it's so interesting, you know, you brought up as well, just the whole, you know, yeast infections. And I work with a lot of women who've gotten constant yeast infections or BV, you know, and I used to as well. And so I know, you know, and you talked about how just, you know, your partner, there's so many different things. And it's important too, like, what is your partner eating? What is he putting in his body?
Yeah.
Is he drinking a lot of alcohol, a lot of beer? Because that affects it too. You know, that yeast, I mean, you know, so when you're having sex, especially if it's unprotected sex, I mean, you're taking on all of the stuff that's going on in his body as well. It's going into you. And like you said, you know, our yoni is very, very sensitive. The vulva is very sensitive, you know, so anything that's foreign can easily affect us. And, you know, and so many times women, we're also buying all these products that they tell us to have a good smelling yoni and this, and to put all these products up inside of you. We don't need to do that. Doing all of these different things. Yeah, the pussy might smell good. excuse my language, but you know, I'm one of those people. I don't have a problem with, you know, whatever you want to call yoni, pussy, vulva, vagina, like whatever. Pudani. There's so many different names, and I know some people have certain feelings about certain names and, you know, what to call it. But you know, it's important to really think about what we're doing, what we're putting in there. You know, and at one point I was having that, you know, I was having recurring yeast infections, and finally I had a doctor who told me, you know, to start cleaning with baking soda, and not to put it up there, but cleaning the lips with baking soda. And that made such a difference because the baking soda helps to balance the pH, you know. So that made such a difference. And that was one of the big things that stopped me from getting the yeast infections, that and being more mindful, more conscious of who I'm allowing to enter inside of my body. You know, our body is a sacred temple, and not just anyone deserves to be in there.
That's all truth. Yeah, I definitely went through a yeast infection BV cycle for almost a whole year. And at my GYN at the time, every time I went, he just prescribed me like antibiotic, prescribed me something, antifungals or whatever. And what happens is, the reason why we get stuck in the cycles, every single time you take this medication, its job is to kill whatever it is. So if it's an antifungal, you know, its job is trying to kill the yeast, or antibacterial is supposed to kill the bacteria. But there's supposed to be a healthy balance between the two. So if you kill one off, the other overgrows and you get the other problem. And then you kill that one off, the other one over, and then you just keep this cycle repeating. Yeah. And I remember being really frustrated that I was going to the doctor like every other month. And it's like, this is like my 4th, 5th time seeing you about the same challenge. And all you're doing is just handing me off pills. And eventually I just decided that I wouldn't take any pills anymore because that wasn't helping. It was just only perpetuating the cycle. I ended up using some materials from Nini Health, if anybody follows like Nefertari on social media. But I ended up using, like, she has like some yoni elixir that's made of all natural ingredients, and you have to, you know, put it up there with a pipette. I was like, this is my last resort. I didn't want to keep buying suppositories and keep buying these things. And during that time, it had a like damper on my sex life. It's like sexual with a yeast infection is like it causes dryness, like your
Yeah.
your vaginal mucus isn't the same. It's not, it's not
Mhm.
creamy and elasticity. It's thick and custard like, and it was just such a it was such a miserable time. But that was the only thing that worked for me. And now I'm very sensitive about and hyper aware of like what soaps I'm using on my body.
Mhm.
I even dry her with a different like towel than the rest of my body. Like, and now I'm just super finicky about what's going on, as well as like vetting and screening like sexual partners, like all of those things, trying to keep her happy. Keeping her happy
Mhm.
keeps me happy. So trying to get
Yes.
as much as possible.
Keeping her happy keeps you happy and keeps your sex life
Oh,
happy.
I'm telling you.
And so while you were talking, I was just thinking about that. I was like, wow, I never thought about using another towel, a separate towel.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, initially I just always had like a face towel and a body towel, but especially having had this surgery, it was also like you don't want to introduce any bacteria to the incision site and and things of that nature as well. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just use a separate towel and keep that habit going on, especially if you have any like a yeast infection, you don't want to use your body towel, dry that, and then continue re-exposing your
Mhm.
body to the same bacteria. Even if you change your towel weekly, that that might be an option for you.
Right, right. I do know some people who change their towels daily, so they don't use the same towel, the next day. But you got to have a whole lot of towels and do a
Okay.
whole lot of washing,
You better stack up, stack up.
right? That water and electricity bill, boy. Your sexual health. Let us know if there's any men on here and you've experienced anything. Let us know, because I'd love to hear from the men. We're two women on here, so obviously we could speak from what we've experienced and what's happened with us. But as you were talking, I was just wondering, what do men go through? Because I mostly work with women. I don't work too much with
Mhm.
men. I do work with some men. I do certain things, but in terms of, I haven't worked a lot with men, so I don't know if you've worked with men. What have you heard of for like the sexual health for men,
Mhm.
or physical health? How does that affect their sexual health in terms of a man? Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah. So I have some male one-on-one clients who I coach with, and some of the top like sexual concerns for men, which also has an impact on their physical health, is usually like early ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, challenges maintaining erection, amongst other things. And challenges with those things cause them to have like a lot of sexual performance anxiety. So then the mental part starts to play in. But the way the physical impacts the body is like, I think I shared on Monday on my Instagram live, I was answering like anonymous questions that were submitted to me. One of the things that I was talking about was penis size, and how like men who are overweight have a lot of fat in the pelvic, region that take away from the length of the shaft. So a lot of overweight men are insecure about the size length of their penis, and it stems from their weight. If men are not physically active, and this is the same for women as well about the being physically active, but increasing like your physical health increases, you mentioned like your cardiovascular health, and we need the heart doing its job. We need blood flowing, because a large part of our arousal is blood being in our genitals. So if they're not really that active physically, they can have challenges like um, getting an erection or maintaining an erection, things of that nature. So like the physical health piece helps them with their endurance. So if they're not, and the thing is, you don't need to be a triathlon or you don't need to be like an Olympian, you know what I mean? Or Olympian
Right.
gold medalist, and I have some like suggestions for someone like myself, who's also not this gym rat and fitness guru, but who's looking to like improve their physical health. So you don't have to do all those things, but even the baby steps of like deciding to walk and having a certain minimum of steps that you take every day, even if it's just some light squats, plank, things of that nature. But for men, building up their physical endurance can help them with their sexual endurance. So where they're not physically fit, a lot of times they also have a hard time controlling, when they ejaculate. And so
Mhm.
like if the more you exercise, the stronger your PC muscles are, whether you're doing Kegels or not. Like physical health, like physical activity supports that. So the stronger your PC muscles are, it's great for women and how you experience pleasure. And then for men, it can support them with being able to recognize the signs pre-ejaculation, like before they ejaculate, and then being able to do a Kegel to breathe and calm themselves down. When they haven't worked that muscle like that, they don't really have that type of control, and then they can feel really embarrassed, or
Mhm.
a lot of shame from having an experience that didn't go quite like they wanted it to go.
Awesome. Yeah. That's so interesting, because I have worked a while back. I kind of stopped working so much with men. So, but before, yeah, I've actually taught men to do PC exercises, Kegels. That's important. There's some great books on there too, on for men, and then that is important, and for women as well. It's important for us to do our Kegels to really strengthen that area, to work on that area. And when you're talking about the cardiovascular, that's so important as well. And I just kind of thought about just myself in terms of, I could think back to times when I wasn't in the best shape, like, in terms of cardio, like I would be like huffing and puffing so quickly. And, I wear my little smart fits because I try to get in at least 10,000 steps a day. Right. And so, and I'm very fortunate to live in a place where I'm like walking distance from the beach. So I could walk along the beach every day, so I'm trying to get that in, and I'm, trying to like run up and down stairs and do all of these different things to really work on the cardio, really work on my heart, and strengthen my body. Like, I'm doing these workouts. I'm working out on the beach. I'm, you know, started doing pole dancing, and it's all like, and I'm not doing all of these things to be like, oh, I want to be the best in bed. No, I want to be my best, right? And I think that that's important. When we are focusing on being our best selves, everything else improves. Whether that's our relationships with family, friends, a significant other, relationships to sex. I mean, that all makes a difference. And so, no matter what we're doing, it's always important to try to be our best selves.
Yeah.
And that comes from having great mental health, great physical health, and great sexual health.
Yeah.
And great emotional health, which is kind of, yeah, spiritual health, like everything.
Yeah, viewing health, I like that you talked about that, like viewing health holistically, and just like understanding there's more than one dimension to our health. And if one of the areas isn't well, it can impact our sex life. So I think there's like 8 dimensions of wellness. And so you were naming all of them, like, yeah, like physical health and emotional health and mental health, like, yeah, all of these things. Sexual health isn't named as a dimension, but I believe the reason why is because all these other categories impact it. And even one of the areas is financial health. And you would think, well, what the fuck does financial health have to do with sexual health? When your money ain't right, your mind ain't right. Your mind ain't right, the dick ain't right, the pussy ain't right. Like, it's connected. So feeling whole and looking at our wellness holistically, as a way to, just like you were saying, like, just be your best self. And that in turn will have a positive impact on our sex life. So I have a question for you. Like, do you think there's any like gender disparity or gender stigma in terms of like sexual health? Like, do you feel like
that's a good question? Because I was saying earlier, I work more with men, right? I mean, with women. But yeah, so definitely.
Do you find it easy?
I think that go ahead.
No, do you find it easy to find women to work with and women who are willing to do the work and,
Yeah. More women than men. I'm just trying to kind of thinking back to different examples, but I find that, so in my opinion, like in my world, what I see, more women come to me than men. And I feel like on the other end, but I'm not sure that there's more options for men. So like, not to say that they're the best options, but you can easily go somewhere and be like, oh, here's Viagra for men, to have better sex. Here's this, here's that for men. Whereas you see less of that for women, right? Like out in the open, less things or less options for women. And so for women, because there's still more of that stigma or that taboo about us having sex and, having the sex life, whereas for men, oh yeah, they can have sex, they can do whatever. right? So I see that difference.
Mhm.
And I see more women tend to have more blockages, more issues. And so, you know, when I first started working in this, I work with men and women. And I decided to work more with women for certain reasons, because I would get men coming for, you know, men would just come and, yes, some of them. And so their mindset was all someplace else. So I was like, yeah, I prefer to work with women, you know. And what I would see is women had way more blockages. They had less outlets, this less things that they could do to help them to have a healthy sex life. You know, men had more options, whether it was healthy or not, whether it was good or bad. You know, they just had more options, more places they could go, more things, you know, they didn't feel the shame of talking about it as much, you know. So that's the difference that I see, you know, that I've seen.
Yeah, I've made very similar observations, and it's the same reason why I've decided, like, yeah, I create this content because I feel like everyone should have access to it, but I also feel like not that men don't have a pleasure gap. It's greater for women. Like, we already,
Mhm.
you know, the statistics for, you know, who's having more orgasms is already clear. Like, hetero men,
Mhm.
you know, are killing the game, whereas hetero
Yeah.
women are lower, you know, lower on the totem pole. And so, yeah, I've made that observation that not that men have no shame. I feel like they have a lot less shame. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like men have no problem like sliding in my DM like, hey, my dick don't work, help me. Like, how are you gonna help me with this? What should I do about this? Whereas women, even when I've nurtured the conversation, we've had a lot of conversations, sometimes they just feel so much shame with even stepping forward and
Mhm.
pursuing this support for themselves. So
Right.
yeah, I was just curious about your take.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're so conditioned to do for everyone else, to put everyone else first, to care for everyone else, that we forget to care about ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Or to be like, okay, I'm breaking down. What do I need? Who can help me? You know? And so that's the thing. Now, I do feel like in terms of doing the work, way more women are like, no, I got to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
There's less options and less things, but they're like, no, 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 I have to do something. So in terms of the therapeutic field, right, arena. Men, on the other hand, I think they still have this stigma about getting help, you know, or whatever. So in general, I see less men doing work,
Mm.
and they stay more in that um, sexual. This is I'm forgetting the word. I'm losing the word that I'm trying to say. But they stay in this unhealthy sexual space, right? Where they learn all of these things from porn,
Mm.
and this is where they're at, and they're like, oh, I have a huge dick, so I'm going to be working that. Well, you know, there's more, and a lot of times you just having a huge dick doesn't make you great at sex, and a lot of times you hurting the woman, and sometimes a woman doesn't have the voice to say like this doesn't feel good, or she doesn't know how to express that. And so she's just kind of in pain. And you see her making these faces, and you think, oh, because you watch all this porn, those sounds that she's making in the faces mean that you killing it when you're really killing her. It's like, you know.
Yeah, like literally.
So it's like, I think that we all, whether masculine or feminine, we need to do the work, right? We need to learn about ourselves. We need to do the healing work to make sure that we know how to please our partners. We're taking good care of our health, you know, our physical health, all of the dimensions like we talked about. And like you said, even the financial, you know, and, you know, and yeah, that's what I wanted to say when you had brought that up.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because when we're allowing ourselves to connect with another body, another person, you know, we're taking on that energy. So if your partner or whoever this person is that you might be connecting with, whether it's a partner or not, if they're having financial problems, if they're having mental health problems, you know, anxiety, stress, whatever, that's going to come into you. And so, especially as a woman, but it was vice versa as well. But if you're having sex with that person, next thing you know, you're like, you're getting all anxious, or you're experiencing these things, and you're like, why is that?
Where is it coming
Because you took it on from your partner. So not only is it important for you to take care of your physical health, to take care of your sexual health, to take care of your mental health, your emotional health, but it's important for you to look at who are you allowing into your energy field.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, on the like energetic transfer. and being mindful of those polarities and everything you said. Yeah, the transfer is happening on both ends, but naturally, women, we are a receptive force. Like they come into our, like we accept things and birth
Right.
things, and that's kind of like our natural design and our, our spiritual design. But so yeah, September is Sexual Health Awareness Month. And it's also, I think, Pleasure Your Mate Month, which I think is
Oh, really?
yeah, I think that's a very interesting like tie. But
Anybody trying to come to Brazil real quick and pleasure me? You got less than a week. No, you got a week.
book
Just
a
joking.
flight. Yeah, book a flight. I'll be
Book a
there.
flight.
Yeah, book a flight. I'm trying to see, but
I
I
could be your temporary mate for like a week.
pleasure your mate for 1 week. Or pleasure you for 1 week. Yes. No, I was saying that to say that I think I like to believe that there's been a lot of progress in like the sensual liberation movement and sex positive movement. I feel like there's definitely progress that has been made in communities and tribes of people who are emerging like you're creating and holding this space, and I'm gravitating towards more people and who have similar energies and seeing more people coming out and sharing things like that. And so I'm excited to see that type of progress. And even with all of this sex positive energy that's like in the air, I still feel like there's still a lot of negative stigma around STIs, doing screenings, if you have a positive result for something. So even with all of these things emerging, that part of the movement, I think, is still very, very behind. And so I wanted to share like 3 stats super quickly that
Yes.
so STIs are like one of the most common infections for human beings, period. So for it to be, so common and so prevalent, and for us to act so shy and like wondering or, make each other feel like shit when it comes up, when we know how it comes up, it happens, you treat it, you manage it, you inform your partners, communicate, etc., and then you can move forward. We make each other feel away. And there's a lot of negative language surrounding it. So we talk about, I'm clean, he or she looks clean, as if you have an STI, then you're dirty and something's wrong. There's just a lot of how we talk about it matters. The other thing is 1 in 2 people will have an STI before they're even 25 or at some point in their lifetime. And at all times, 1 in 5 people have a positive, like a positive STI at some point or another. And it's like, for it to be this prevalent, not saying that that's what I want for you, but it's not the end of the world if this happens to you. And and a lot of people are so fearful of a positive result that they're just scared to do screenings altogether and then continue to spread and the infections that they are carrying. And so I feel like we need to make equal progress in that space to catch up to some of the progress we're making in like sensual liberation and sexual liberation.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's really good. So now, like, so there's STDs, some STDs that you can't get rid of, like herpes.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend? So like, let's say somebody going, and I remember for me at one point, hi, Renee, hi, Nicole. I mean, Tamika, I'm seeing Cold Crunch. Hello, everybody that's coming on and saying hi. Guys, if you have any questions, any comments, please ask away. Now's the time. And I remember for me, I remember the first time I got an STD screening, I was scared. And my doctor was like, no, you got to do this. And I was like, no, I don't need to do this. She's like, no, you need to do this. I was like, no. She's like, are you having sex? She's like, you need to do this. And I was just like terrified. And I was like, what? Oh my God. And I knew I had unprotected sex. What if I have HIV? And I know it didn't make sense, but in my mind, it was like, I don't even want to know. And I think it was kind of like, if I don't know, then I don't have it. I don't have to deal with it. Right. And my doctor literally forced me. She was like, and I loved her. She was a great doctor. She was like, well, if you don't take this, I'm not working with you anymore. I'm not going to be your doctor anymore. And I was like, I didn't want to lose her because she was really good. So I was like, okay. And then when it all came back, everything was negative. I was like, whew. And then ever since, even just taking that, it made me be more aware of, okay, what am I doing? Make sure I'm using more protection. And then I started doing screenings yearly, and if for some reason I slipped, then I would do at that time, right?
Yeah.
And so that was really important. So my question is for you, what do you recommend? Like, okay, let's say if somebody is diagnosed with herpes, they're told that they have herpes. Like, how do you recommend that they talk to their partner about that?
Yeah. I would say firstly, like most people may or may not know that there's like two strains, and one is like oral, and 50 to 80% of the population has oral herpes.
Mhm.
Most of the population had it even before they were sexually active from like kissing parents, sharing drinks, like things of that nature. So is less of a concern, and the transmission rate between oral to genital is low. Not impossible, but just really low. But if you do have genital herpes, which is the concern that most people have, is like, okay, if you have this isn't something you can cure, and it is something you have to manage going onward. The first thing I would say is if you do have genital herpes, you cannot have unprotected sex. And there's a lot of different options for how to create barriers between you and your partner. You can use a condom, you can use a dental dam. I actually saw this company that creates these underwear that you can wear to receive oral if a woman doesn't like a vaginal condom like inserted and she just wants
Oh,
oral
wow.
just wants oral stimulation. They look like seamless panties, but they form a barrier, and they have this real, like, I don't know if it's latex still, but the way it's designed, you can feel it looks thin, so you can feel the stimulation well, at least that's how it's supposed to be designed, but it still serves as a barrier. But definitely the first is creating a barrier between you and your sexual partner. The other part is telling your partner up front. You do not want to rid someone of their choice. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Certainly. Are a lot of people probably going to say no, they don't want to have sex with you? That's probably also true as well, but it's not fair to them for you to omit that information and not allow them to make sound decisions. Because you can find that person that's going to say like, okay, either yes, this is also a reality for me, or it's not a reality for me, but they're educated enough to say, hey, are you on medication? How do you manage your outbreaks? Are you body aware? So are you tracking when these things are happening to your body? And so the next thing is, if you do find your partner who's down to be like, okay, I know this about you, I still want to engage with you, you do have to be body conscious, like I was saying, tracking your outbreaks. And when you have herpes, it can lie dormant for a very long time. So these outbreaks aren't happening all the time. They can happen every 6 months, once a year, once every couple years. Like you just have to keep tracking it and stay on medication. And then your partner has to get screenings often to make sure that that they still have a negative status. And then at some point, if children is in the mix and family is something you want, then you need to think about family planning and talking to your doctor about what are the best ways to make that happen safely. So it's not the most ideal thing. It's not the most comfortable, but it's definitely starts with the communication, moves through management and making sure you're observing, tracking your body, and then getting screening regularly. And I kind of have similar recommendations for anyone who's HIV positive. I know that's also very scary. You can create those barriers. There's PrEP. There's all these things that you can put in place to try to mitigate that as much as possible. But you have it's literally your moral responsibility to let someone else know. It's not optional. So we have a question. We got some questions that I think will be dope. I'm gonna read it out and let you jump on this. But are you familiar with Tantra and sex magic? And if so, what are some things you should know about it?
Yeah, so I am a tantric therapist, but Maniac, do you have a specific question? Because that will help, because Tantra is such a broad area, and there's so much that you can talk about in terms of Tantra as well as sex magic. But a quick little something about Tantra, it means expansion. It's about expanding and liberation. So that you could feel more, so that you could connect. And it says everything is connected, right? And so, a lot of times people hear about Tantra and they just automatically think about tantric sex or even sex magic. But there's so much more to Tantra. And my work with Tantra specifically is to help release using tantric techniques, tantric meditation, tantric breath work, and tantric massage to help release the traumas and blockages that's in your body. Our bodies have cellular memory, right? And it holds on to the traumas in our bodies, from not only from us, but from our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors. And so through doing this work, it releases those traumas, it releases those blockages, so that you can have a healthier life, so that you can feel more pleasure, so you can be more orgasmic, and be more orgasmic in the sense of orgasmic with everything, having orgasm through eating something great food, dancing, being able to have better connections. So it's not just about the sex piece. And I have worked with the sex magic to manifest different things. And, a lot of people are doing sex magic now. You also have to be careful with that, to not just have sex. I've met people who would just have sex with somebody just to manifest something. And they think about what they want. But who is this person you're having sex with? What is their energy? What are they putting into you? So there's so many different dimensions to that. And I also use the energy of Tantra, of sexuality, to help manifest. So it doesn't have to be having sex with someone. It doesn't even have to be masturbating. It can be them doing other things. So do you want to share anything about, if you have any knowledge on Tantra at all?
Yeah, I feel like Tantra is still something that I'm studying myself, and I second you with how like pleasure should exist outside of a sexual space as well. Like it transcends more. Like we shouldn't just limit it to this one element. But yeah, I definitely do work on like my breathing, like doing breath work, energy spheres and moving energy through my body, experiencing orgasms without touch, just through breath work and Kegels and working with my energy. So that's something I've explored. I definitely have explored sex magic predominantly solo. So I know a lot of times that when people think about sex magic, they probably immediately think partnered, but a lot of my manifestation, I always believe I birthed some of my best creative ideas and works and things when I'm in that space by myself. And so, so most of my sex magic is happening alone. I would say that's definitely an area that I want to explore more and learn more about. And then Reigning Woman said that I've been.
Oh wait, before we go on to the next one, I do want to add with the Tantra. I do actually teach Tantra courses, and currently I just started on Monday a Tantric Lingam Massage course. So the Lingam is a Sanskrit word for penis. So I am teaching how to do Lingam Massage. You still have time to join. It's 4 weeks, and you get all the videos and this PowerPoint slides. Next month, mid-October, I will be teaching Yoni Massage. Yoni is a Sanskrit word for sacred portal. And I also do teach Tantric basics, breath work, Tantric meditation, Tantric movement, and sound healing. And then I also do one-on-one Tantric therapy sessions. So sometimes people come to me and there's specific things, we do one-on-one. I do Yoni breathing or variant breathing. I do rebirthing, many different things within my Tantric therapy sessions to help people to connect to their bodies, feel their bodies, release the blockages that's in their bodies, and just feel better about themselves.
That is dope. I did see your post about the massage. I was like, I need some tips. I need to know.
Yeah. And these are lifelong, it's a lifelong skill that, will always stay with you and will just improve over time. So it is definitely something that I recommend people learn how to do. And it's something, when I teach the Lingam and the Yoni massage, it's something you can do for yourself and for your partner, right? So if you have a Lingam, you can learn it to do it on yourself, and it just takes your self-exploration, your masturbation to a whole nother level. Same thing, if you have a vulva, you can learn the Yoni massage for yourself, and it teaches you how to connect to your body in a whole different way, as well as if you want to take the class to do it on your partner. So these classes can be taken so that you can do it for yourself or on your partner. And it's just, it's something that develops and gets better and better over time, the more and more that you do it. So let's go back to Maniac, because she responded. She said, okay, yeah. And then we'll go back to Reigning Woman. Yeah, the blockages is what I wanted to discuss, because I was dealing with some serious circulation issues in my feet. And that's interesting she says that. Because I don't know if you were on earlier, I was talking about, I was having some issues with numbness and tingling and just circulation issues, which is why I was also drinking tea with, I'm thinking of the word in Portuguese, turmeric and ginger. because I buy these herbs in Portuguese, so I'm forgetting English, because they're good for circulation. And so these are different things, right? We're talking about physical health and how it affects the sexual health, right? So our physical health is important. So even what you're putting in your body as part of the physical health, so it's important to take the turmeric, mosquito, ooh. To drink the turmeric, ginger, do different things, right? And so now part of my tantric therapy, I do some shaking, some specific, I'm guiding you through a shaking meditation to help, and that's going to also help with the circulation. It's going to help to release those blockages that's in your body. If you go to my website, I do have the shaking meditation that is actually really good to do around the full moon, and we just had a full moon, so you're still within that time frame, because within 3 days of having a full moon, you're still benefiting from that energy of that full moon. So I have on there, it's a shaking meditation, so you can see it. It's called Shake It Off. Go on there, www.pandaraprem.com, and download that. And it's under the store. It's a great deal, and that's something you could do whenever you feel like you need to move, you need some movement, you need to release some things, you're having circulation issues, or you have traumas, you have blockages in your body, you just need to release them. That is excellent to do, and it guides you through it, so you can do it anytime. So I definitely recommend that.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to laugh at Reigning Woman's comment. She was saying that I've been abstaining for so long that I probably won't know how to act the next time I have sex. So I felt like that was hilarious. But yes, so thank you. I hopefully I don't pronounce your name incorrectly, but Cinzia? Yeah, so thank you.
Cinzia, the Italiano.
Off the tongue, yes. So she said she's been following me for a minute. Thank you. I appreciate your support. And I do a lot of sex toy reviews. So if you have a toy in mind that you want me to try, I might have it in my arsenal, maybe not, but I'm open to trying it out and letting you know the real tea about it.
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing about all of your tantric work and all your workshops and classes you have going on. So I ran a woman empowerment program at the end of 2020 called the Queendom. I am bringing the Queendom back as a 8-week group sex coaching program for women. And so the program will have 4 live sessions where we're going to dive into pleasure advocacy, practicing sexual agency, the female anatomy, the female arousal response cycle. We will practice having those, like some of those hard conversations you were bringing up earlier. We will role play having those conversations. We're going to talk about dick riding, fellatio, all of it, hand job, hand manipulation, like some techniques and ways to do it so you can build your sexual confidence and feel confident, like moving in the world, building your own pleasure practice. So whether you have a partner or not, you're still experiencing pleasure. So if you follow me on Instagram, it's at Seshata Rose _. You can find me on seshatarose.com also. And so registration is going to open in about 2 weeks. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, you can get updates. And if you just follow me on Instagram, then you'll be able to find it there as well. So thank you. Thanks for dropping the handle for me.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, definitely follow her on seshatarose.com. This was so good. This was so good. And Reigning Woman, just real quick to go back, girl, let me tell you, I've gone through my stages of abstinence, celibacy, and look, girl, doing the work on yourself, when you do get back, it's going to flow and it's going to be so good and it's going to be better than before. So it's like riding a bike. You ain't going to forget, but even better, it's going to get even better. And so, especially if you're doing the work. Now, if you're just abstaining and you're not doing the work, that's a whole nother thing. But if you're doing the work on yourself, you're doing the work, to just get healthier, to be better, to be a better you. Even doing, and I believe, and I believe you're doing work. I've seen you on here before, and so I believe you're doing that work. So once you do decide to let someone in, or to connect, it's going to be great. So,
and you're going to attract exactly who you're supposed to attract to, and it's going to be
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much. So this was great. So guys, follow Seshata at Seshata Rose _. She's great. She has some good stuff coming up. Check out our stuff. We both got some many great things in the works. So join us, and I really like, it's important also to study with different people. I have many different teachers because you're always going to get something from one person and you're going to get something different from another. And I have a lady who's doing my classes right now, who's done a whole series of Tantra workshops with another lady out of Atlanta. And now she's doing mine. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to learn different things because you're taking her experience and you're taking my experience, so there's so much for everyone and that you can get so many different things. So I definitely always recommend checking out different people, checking out different work, and you're always going to learn something. There's so much to learn and there's so much to grow. So this was amazing. This was awesome. Thank you so much for being on here. Did you want to share anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me and thank you for holding this space. And the same, I continue to learn something new about sexuality. There's never enough for me to learn about it. So I learned a lot from you tonight. I look forward to connecting with you again. And for everyone who's here, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and talking to us, engaging with us, listening in. So just thank you, expressing a lot of gratitude.
Yes, yes, yes. And if you're not following me, if you're new to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. And not only hit subscribe, but hit the notifications because then you'll be reminded when I have my next live. And I am doing my lives every Wednesday, but sometimes I'll add a little video here and there, a little something, add a day. So hit that notification. If you enjoyed this, if you got a lot from this, share it. Sharing is caring. But not only that, if you got something from this, someone else will. So share it, repost the video and on your Facebook. This is on YouTube. Get the link, post it on your Facebook, share it with friends. If you're in WhatsApp groups, post it in there and just share it. If you got a newsletter, put it in your newsletter. Share this so people could see it. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone who came out, who contributed and talked, and those of you who may not have talked and just listened. Love you guys, and thank you so much for coming out. And thank you so much, Seshata Rose, for being here, sharing your knowledge. This was really great. Thank you.
Thank you.